Hello, welcome to the JAV Show. This is Jorge.
And this is Viv.
And this week, we be chilling. Just two of us.
Hi, guys.
Viv's back from Veld. How's Veld?
It was actually so fun.
Really?
Yes. This is my second time going, and I thought this year was so much more fun than last year.
What's the difference?
I would say that the artists were better. Like, I don't even remember who was there last year, but then this year there was Martin Garrix and Marshmallow, and Martin Garrix was, I would say, the best DJ I've ever seen live.
Damn.
Yes. It was so good.
What makes him the best live DJ you've seen?
The way that he played his songs, the way he remixed everything, the way he transitioned between songs, the lights, the way that he planned everything out, the fireworks, the colorful confetti, everything was just amazing. And then I also met a few people who were dancing beside me who are like really kind, and they're really good. They had really good energy, and they like popped off and would dance just as hard as I would, which like fed into it.
Right.
And they were so nice.
Do they pre-plan their shows?
Yeah, I think so.
So like everything's already done, and then they press play?
I think they like plan what they're going to play and how they're gonna play it.
Right.
But they like execute it live there.
Oh, okay.
But I think most of it is pre-planned, I would say. I think so. Because I'm not sure, but I think on the sets, if you look at the list of who's going, it'll say live under some of them, which I'm guessing that means that they're literally doing it live without any planning.
Oh, and some
but
of them
you
don't
rarely see that.
Yeah.
I think.
I mean, it would make sense personally. I would think like if I could prepare a performance rather than play it live, I would spend so much time just like fine tuning it before I get there.
Yeah, exactly.
Whereas like if you play an instrument, you don't have a choice, right? You just play it, right? But then for this, I would like fine tune it. The moment I step on stage, there's like barely anything I have to think about anymore. It's like the work was already done 24 hours before. Everything was already done by then.
Exactly. But yeah, it was so much fun.
Nice.
They had these beach balls that everyone would throw around in the crowd. Like there was probably 10 going at once. And the first time I got a hold of one, I tried to hit it.
Yeah.
And I fucking missed, and I hit it straight into the crowd at like someone like a car's length away.
Oh, you just punched someone.
Yeah, basically. And then everyone around me was like, "Aw, okay, it's okay. Second time's a charm." It was just me, Alton, and Rstar.
Yeah.
There. Everyone else went to go see another DJ. And then the second time I got the ball, they're like, "All right, second time's a charm." And I tried to hit it again, and I threw it up too high, and it like floated away. And then everyone's like, "Oh, okay, third time's a charm." And then the third time I was able to get a ball, everyone kind of like made a circle around me, or like gave me some space, and I was able to like hit it and hit it far. And I saw everyone around me like started cheering. I was like, "Yeah, she finally got it!" I thought that was such a wholesome and happy moment.
Like the special needs kids, you know?
Yeah, actually. And then 2 other times I thought was really sick was 2 separate times I put Alton and Randy on my shoulders.
Oh yeah.
Or sorry, Rstar on my shoulder for a shoulder ride.
Nice.
And then when people started noticing, like, "Oh my god, it's a girl giving a guy a shoulder ride! Oh my god, she's so strong!" And then like so many people started recording us. And when I finally put Rstar or Alton like down, everyone around was like giving me fist bumps and was like, "Oh my god, you're so strong! That was so cool! That was sick!" That was really exciting. Very cool. Yes.
That's the ego trip right there. Let's go. That's good. I mean, I'm glad you had fun.
Yeah.
Like a pretty fun event.
Very fun.
Nice. Yeah, I was at Heritage Days that weekend.
Oh, how was it?
It was fun. Have you been to it when it was not at Harlock Park, at Borden Park now?
Yes.
Oh. I'm not sure how last year was, but this year I thought it was pretty good. It was pretty good. There's no tickets. Everything's pretty spaced out. Yeah, you just pay with cash or like your card or whatever.
Oh.
It's pretty nice
That's different.
I feel like without tickets, the prices are pretty fair.
Yeah.
Like you don't go there expecting Costco hot dogs, but you go there and you're like, okay, it's $10 for like a bowl of rice, meat, veggies. I was like, that's not bad. That's like it's not ridiculous. It's pretty good. So I was like, oh, it's pretty good. I actually like it when they don't have the tickets. I feel like the vendors or the volunteers are like putting more reasonable prices out there.
Then the tickets.
Yeah, the tickets, it's just like
forced to put a set amount, right?
Yeah, you're forced to buy a set amount, and then I feel like anytime you're removed from the actual currency, you like lose sight of the value of it, and then that's how they like get you. You lose sight of the value, and the people who are like selling you stuff also lose sight of the value, right? So like if someone gave you like this glass of drink you have, and they charged you $10, so you'll be like,
drink here.
Okay, well, maybe that's reasonable. I'm not sure, but if they charge you $10, you're like, this feels kind of like scammy, right?
Yeah.
Like as a seller and a buyer, it feels scammy. But then when they say it costs 5 tickets, it's that $10 removed now, right? Because then you're like, oh, I don't know how much 5 tickets, or like you can figure it out,
right.
But that feeling, the emotional connection's now gone. So then you're like, oh,
it's just 5 tickets.
Yeah, it's just 5 tickets. But when you say it's $10, if I were to sell it to you and I don't think it's valuable, I would feel weird. And then if you were buying it, you would feel weird too, because you're like, oh, it's $10 for such a small cup of matcha drink or something like that, right?
Yeah.
But then now I feel like they remove that disconnect. So then when I'm like actually paying for a $10 bowl of rice of something, then it's like, oh, okay, this is a pretty reasonable amount. And they're like, yeah, we charge a reasonable amount for it.
What did you get?
I got elephant ears.
How was it compared to K-Days?
So much cheaper, so it was like $6.
Oh,
and it was like bigger, but I think
I swear the one that we got at K-Days was like half or 2/3 the regular size.
Yeah, it was pretty shit too. But they had it like almost every European country stand had elephant ears. It was everywhere.
Fuck.
It was everywhere.
Is elephant ears a European thing?
I have no idea. No idea.
Can you look it up real quick. I would have thought it was just straight up American.
It's this site says from Southeast Asia.
What the fuck? Okay, I think they're talking about actual elephant ears.
Oh, maybe. Elephant ears dessert. I mean, they say Native American does that too, but that's like Bannock. That's not the same. I don't know. I'm sure it's I can very much see it being a European thing. Fried dough in a certain way.
Yeah.
I got that. I got rice pudding. I always get the rice pudding. Scandinavian rice pudding. We get it every fucking year. It's the best. It's called Rstar, and we always get it.
Can you search it up so I can see?
We get this exact one. It was $5 cup. It wasn't like the most value, but it's always our favorite dish.
It's strawberries on top?
It's usually raspberry, like a sour-ish raspberry sauce on top of the rice pudding.
Can you go back to all, and I want to see what the recipe is.
Actually, I have one right now. I'm gonna make it tomorrow. Joyce wants to make it tomorrow, so we're gonna make some Scandinavian rice pudding. Yeah, so we got that.
Sounds like rice pudding.
Yeah, and then like I don't know. I kept walking. One thing I noticed was every single African booth sells the exact same thing. It's like skewers and some jollof rice or variety of it. And it's just those. I was like, dude, we literally went through like 8 stands, and they all sell what it appears to be the exact same skewer, like just a beef skewer.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I went to one, and by chance the one I went to, they sold out. But they're like, oh, we have this other dish. I was like, fuck it, I'll just try it. It was $8, and it was pretty much just steak that they just cut up with some of their seasoning. But it was like a pretty good value. Like the amount of meat I got for $8 was like pretty good. Like if you can imagine, say like this cup up to here was all filled with steak.
Oh shit.
Yeah, just cut up steak. So I was just straight up eating meat. I was honest. I mean, like I won't complain because it's just straight up good protein for me. So I was like, that's good.
Was it good though?
Yeah, it was good. I mean, like parts of it was a little dry, but other parts were like pretty good. It's kind of hard. Like when you have if you have a cut where there's like varying thickness, then it's really hard to control the outcome of that, right? So it was really good though. It was fine. And then yeah, it was chilled, just walking around.
Who'd you go with?
Me, Joyce, Jenny, Alvin, and some of my friends. Some of my guy friends. Yeah, that was awesome. It was chilling last week.
Oh, nice. Did you do anything else?
Anything special during the week? Nothing. Let me think. The work's been pretty chill. So I pretty much have done everything they needed me to do at work for that one program they wanted me to test out.
Mm.
And then now it's just on them to like make decisions on what they want to do moving forward and stuff. So I'm kind of like in La La Land again.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, it happens. Like they'll have a project for me and I'll work on it pretty intensely for like a couple days or maybe a week, and then I'll have it done. And then after that, they don't know what to do with it. So then they have to like reconvene with management to figure out what they want to do.
I kind of get how you feel right now, because ever since I came back, like this entire week, I have an ongoing project till the end of the year. But aside from that, like we're waiting on so many different moving parts for all my other projects that I like hardly did anything this week.
Yeah. Similar. Like a lot of my development, let's say, projects is like with other groups trying to figure stuff out. It's either with the actual project controls group to decide like, okay, is this what we want to do moving forward or not? Because like I'll get it to work, but I'll tell them like, hey, here's the shortfalls and here's why we can't scale it, for example.
Mm-hmm.
And if you guys have to make an executive decision on how to move on, because we always want to scale stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll implement it with that. Like it's already implemented, and how I've done it is like the hardest it can get. And if you implement any of my suggestions, it will only get easier. So it's like ready.
Yeah.
It just needs me like a day to like fix it after we get the database proper, right? And then the rest of the stuff is with the programmer to like change it to the way I want it to see. So that's about it. So yeah, it's been kind of chill. We actually just moved our desk again. Like I think this is my third time moving in like the last 2 years.
Your desk?
Yeah, so like we're in one space, and then for some reason they like moved the construction group from upstairs, so the 4th floor to the 3rd floor. So they moved us to another space, and then one of the managers was like, "Oh, everyone's too spread out," so they moved me to another space. And then now they're removing the 3rd floor completely, so everyone has moved up to the 4th floor.
Oh,
yeah. So they're just, I guess they're just consolidating the space.
Interesting.
So just like literally since the first time I've moved, I never unpacked. So then I just like threw like the 5 stuff I had on my desk back into the box, and then I just like, all right, you guys move this whenever you guys are free, and then
I feel like you're like me with your desk space. I also have hardly anything in my office.
Yeah, like what's specifically in your office or desk space?
On my desk, I have a tissue box.
Okay.
A sticky notepad. A pen.
Yeah.
And so I have an L desk.
Yeah.
And on the other side of the L desk, I have this planter that Lorraine got me, but it has nothing in it.
Oh.
And it's just sitting there.
Your hopes and dreams.
Yeah. And I guess in the drawers, I have like paperwork, but like I haven't looked at any of that. I could always shred it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm like, I feel like I'm super chaotic with my stuff. So I have 2 writing pads and like 5 pens, and then on my desk. So like, just imagine I have the stand-up desk, so like I can like pull it up and then I can pull it back down. So right in front of me, there's the paper pad and like 2 pens, and then right beside me, there's another paper pad and like 3 pens.
Holy shit! Why do you need so many pens?
I just get free pens. I'll just like fucking keep it there. And then to the left, further left, and this part I never even touch, is like my sweater in the winter that I wear in the office.
Yeah.
And like a bag of stuff that I packed from my old office that I never unpacked. So it's just like a bag of like you know those like string line bags? Like, I just got it from one of the suppliers they gave to me. I just put a bunch of stuff in it, right? And that's it. And then the only reason I have 2
That's it.
the only reason I have 2 paper pads is that whenever I talk to anyone or I'm doing any work, I'll like jot notes on the paper pad, and then I'll star stuff that I want to do that I'm too lazy to put into like my calendar or into my things to do list. It's like something I can do within the next hour or 2 hours, right? So then I just like keep notes for myself. It's like, oh, okay, I gotta fix this program to make it more robust on this, or I gotta talk to this person about this thing, right? And then when someone else talks to me, but I still want that there, I switch the paper pads.
Why don't you just rip it off or start a new page?
So every loose paper,
I
have a bunch of loose paper in one pile on my desk, and that's the throwaway pile. So I was like, I can't have any loose paper. It has to be on the paper pad. So I just have 2 paper pads that I just keep swapping between. So then once everything's done on that paper pad, like all the notes are irrelevant now. I finished everything. All my train of thought's gone. Then I just rip that, and then that's a fresh one now. But then I already have another fresh one like right in front of me that I have like a little bit of notes on.
Oh my god, let me introduce you to something called Trello.
Trello. I think my friend has shown me that before.
So I actually used to work the exact same way. I used to have a shit ton of, that's why I had a sticky notepad on my desk. I used to write down stickies all the time whenever I needed to jot something down or write down what I needed to do during the day, or write down like a little bit of information if someone's talking to me, all that stuff. Fucking sticky notes. I'd have a notebook or like a workbook.
Yeah.
Or like an A4 sheet of paper, the coiled book, where I'd write down, okay, today I need to do all these things. And then whenever I had more information or something I need to remember, sticky note. Whenever someone was talking to me about something, sticky note. And so by the end of the day, I would have probably like 10 sticky notes for that day. And it would be all over the notebook or all over my desk.
Right.
And then eventually, one of my leads showed me Trello, and I freaking love it.
Yeah,
this is non-sponsored, guys.
It looks
it
looks just like the new Microsoft Fabric that they're gonna come out with their projects.
Yeah.
So like I use something similar. Like, so the notes I have is like stuff that's immediate, and
this is so easy to add in though.
Anything that's not, I have my Microsoft things to do that I add in stuff, and then that's where I add in stuff constantly.
So the reason why I like Trello is because you can make your board really simple, and it can be as simple as having a notepad in front of you and jotting it down.
Yeah, but
it's so much more organized. So on my Trello board, I don't know if you can.
I feel like you're trying to sell me something that I don't want.
I know, but I freaking love it. I've found it to be like the most useful thing I've integrated into my work life.
Like, does it not feel like
so
a car insurance
it does
conversation right now?
But no, I actually think that if anyone abuses sticky notes like I used to, like, I don't really use sticky notes anymore because I freaking love Trello now. So you can have like a freaking board, and you create different columns to organize all your little cards. Your cards would be like your sticky notes.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have 3 columns. One column is a to-do list. One column is a priority to-do list, and one column is in progress.
Okay.
So to-do list is all the things that need to be done eventually. They're not time sensitive, or I just need to get to them whenever I get to them. Priority to-do list is things that I need to do like today, right now, within the next couple of days. You can add in for each card, you can put in like integrate this program, and then I can put a due date, and then I can open up the card and just write whatever details I would normally write on a sticky note. And when I'm working on it, I'll just drag it into my progress list, so I know, okay, at least I'm working on that. And when I'm done, I just delete that.
It sounds exactly like what Microsoft's
doing
right now.
But I freaking love it, and I love how simple it looks. I think it looks more, and it's more simple than Microsoft's right now.
Theirs isn't out yet, technically. Like, they're integrating Microsoft Project with things to do, and then turning into like, they're pretty much creating Notion, but for Microsoft.
They do have one. It's called Loop.
Yeah. Like, that's their version of Notion, but for Microsoft. But it's not like, it's out, but it's not like very enterprise, or at least for my company, it's not streamlined yet. So like, we don't get to use every single product that Microsoft comes out yet until they go through the security checks and stuff, right? So for example, we have Copilot, which is ChatGPT built into a lot of Microsoft tools, but not everyone can use that yet. So it sounds exactly like that, and it sounds exactly like Notion. But I don't know, like, for me,
are you guys a Microsoft partner?
What does that mean? Like, we have all the Microsoft tools that we have. We're like an enterprise account. Whatever that is. Yeah. So then, so we have that, and then I think it's similar to Trello, but yeah. But I don't know. Like, I can't really explain it. I can't do that. Like, the reason is, like, someone would be talking to me, and I don't want to like open another screen to like type something down. So then I'll just jot it, or when I'm walking. So like, what I do is I pace around my space a lot when I'm thinking, and then when I think of an idea, I just want to like put it down right there. And then after I put it down, then I like think about it, and then once I implement it, I was like, this is not useful anymore, because I either succeeded or I failed, but now I have the proof of it, which is my, like, the work I've done, right? I'll go back and I'll see the proof of what I've done.
That makes sense. I have 3 screens in my office, and I split one of my screens into 3. It's split it's split into 3. The biggest screen, the biggest section is my email that's constantly open, and the other 2 smaller, 1/4 sections. One section is 2/4 the size, and the other 2 1/4 size sections. I have my Trello board, and then I have my Microsoft Teams open, and I think it's fucking amazing.
Oh yeah, I'm not. I feel like for you create productivity tools when you're needing to be productive. But I'm I don't really need to do that right now, which is great for me.
It's amazing. I used to trash so many sticky notes at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Now I don't have anything. I got rid of my notebook completely now.
Doesn't something feel different about just writing? I have shit writing. I absolutely hate have really bad writing, but something about having an idea and then just jotting it down real quick.
I get it completely. I think the part that the biggest hassle for that for me was the amount of sticky notes I always would send into admin to be hey, can you guys order more sticky notes? Because I'm pretty much the only one that's abusing this shit, and I need you guys to order more. But also, whenever I choose to work from home, I don't want to bring my shit back and forth, and I could just log in from wherever.
Yeah. That's for me, anything that goes beyond a day, then I put in my things to do, and that's all the stuff I actually have to do. But it's within that day, I'll have almost it's almost I'm creating a storyboard. I'll finish this task and I'll go to the next one, and then there's some notes I want to jot down real quick, and then as I do it, then I work on the task, and then that's gone right away.
Yeah.
But no, I haven't created anything super productive or a super productive tool. I had created my Notion stuff for my personal stuff, but even then I haven't used it too much. Not as much as I'd like. I feel unless you work for yourself, that stuff isn't as helpful. Because that's you have to look at it every day. But it's when I'm going to work, there's 8 hours of the day where I'm not looking at my personal Notion, so it's it doesn't become as useful.
That makes sense.
I feel when you're forced to use it and look at it all the time, then you make it as beautiful as you can, or as nice for yourself as you can.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, well, one day I'll get busier. I mean, I do in steps, but it's weird. I've always liked organized chaos for some reason.
What do you mean by organized chaos?
It's I used to have this teacher, and I'll go to her desk, and it looks like absolute shit, but she knows where exactly everything is. And it's just an organized chaos. To you, it looks like shit, but to her, she knows exactly where everything is, and it's where it needs to be.
Yeah.
For whatever reason. Right. So for some reason, I'm also like that. I like a little bit of the organized chaos.
I feel like it scratches a certain area in your brain, hey?
The organized chaos?
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel if it's too organized, I think I'll spend a lot of time organizing it, which is time not productive to actually doing the thing. And then I also think that organized chaos creates... Oh, okay. If it works well, it helps you create urgency in what you need to do.
Because you're mildly stressed.
Yeah. You're thinking, and you don't want to lose a thought, so then you create the urgency of getting that thing done. And it's too chaotic. So then that stressor, I feel helps me become more productive. Whereas if everything was so perfectly organized, there wouldn't be that stressor, and I'll keep thinking that I have more time than I do. So I don't know.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it's weird. It's a weird thing.
That makes sense. I need a little bit of stress too when I'm working, but I secretly lie to myself.
Yeah.
And I tell myself, oh, this deadline is actually this much earlier. I actually need to do this by this time. And it's always a lot earlier than the actual deadline. So then I self-inflict some stress, and I usually get it done beforehand.
Yeah. But I also think if you talk to anyone who's in project management or does anything with project, they're always I get the stuff done early, etc., etc. I actually think there is sometimes a problem when you do things too early, and that's because you have to redo it. If that makes sense. I think this was in one of the Tim Ferriss books, or one of the organizational help books that I read about, and it kind of made sense to me. So if you have an exam, say you have a driving exam, a written paper exam, right? Something about cars and rules and stuff like that, right? Your exam is in 3 months. If you study all the material now and it's in 3 months, you're gonna have to redo that in 3 months.
Yes.
But if say you study some important concepts, once or twice next couple weeks, and then you get more focused and into that studying a week right before, I feel like you waste less time and you get a better outcome from that.
How does that apply to getting projects done?
So, for example, if I had a specific task, so let's say the task was, hey, I would write this script for this program, or like review this tank data sheet, and we have to submit it for this thing, right? I do it 3 months before, and then now come a month before, they're like, okay, we have to get ready to submit in a month's time. Let's review all the shit. I'm like, oh fuck, I have to now review all the stuff I just did because in the last 2 months I forgot everything that I did, right? I probably forgot everything I did because I went super hard, super focused on doing all that stuff three months ago.
Right.
And then now I moved on to other stuff. And then now it's deadline 1 month. So now I have to go back and review everything I did again. So then when we have a really meaningful conversation, I can bring up all the nuances to that thing. Right. Whereas if I did a little bit of it a couple times, a couple weeks, and then like say a month before, I go really hard into it. Anytime within that month, if I have a conversation about it, it's so recent in my knowledge or in my memory that the nuanced knowledge is still there.
That
right?
makes sense.
So it's like sometimes I'm not sure if it works for you, but like when I'm solving a Power BI DAX programming problem, right? At the moment, I feel like a genius. I feel like, I'm like using all these tools to figure out what I'm doing. And then 2 weeks later, someone asked me how to do it. I was like, oh fuck, I gotta go back and really like reread exactly what I did. Like at the moment I was in the zone and I knew exactly what I was doing.
Yeah.
But then if someone asked me again 2 weeks later, I'd be like, I have no idea. But if someone asked me 2 days later about a similar problem, I'll be, I can help you. Like I did this exact same thing 2 days ago.
Interesting.
It's like really recent in my memory.
Yeah.
So I understand not just the memory itself, but all the details that led me to it. Right. So I guess in this book, what they're saying is like sometimes doing things too early is actually negative if it's not required to do it that early. And I was like, that's really, it's true. I think it's just straight up true. There's one thing about studying like 2 hours every week, and then the week before the exam studying 8 hours. That makes sense, right?
Yeah.
But studying like 16 hours 3 months before the exam, that might not be necessary right now because you're honestly gonna forget a lot of the things that you just studied. And maybe the second time you don't need 16 hours to go through all that stuff. You might only need 8 now, but it's still a waste of X amount of time. Like if you spread that out throughout all those weeks, you might still have less time used.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think that in some ways it allows you to know the material a lot more if you're able to have the time to review it more than once? Yeah,
so if I did it 3 months ago and I had to review it constantly, then yeah, I know the material really well. And if I can regurgitate the material. But like sometimes that train of thought is really important too. And you lose that after a while, right? Like the train of thought to get to the result. Especially if you do it way back when, and like everyone will say, oh yeah, it's good to keep notes about your stuff, but it's kind of hard. Like you're in the zone. You don't really want to like jot everything you're thinking down. So yeah.
Oh yeah, I get what you mean.
Yeah,
I thought it was a lot better in class to literally just sit there and listen to the professor and jot down keywords over consistently trying to write down every single little thing that the professor says, which I feel like is a very novice mistake that most people make when they first go to school.
Yeah.
They literally copy everything word for word, slide for slide, everything that the teacher says, instead of sitting there and actually trying to actively listen and absorb the material.
Yeah, I'll be honest. Depending on the course, because some profs, like for example, won't post their slides or they won't post anything.
Yeah.
Then I'd have to jot stuff down.
Yeah.
Right? So, I actually would write everything down, but I would be in like mindless mode. So like I'm just listening to him, but my hand's just repeating whatever I see.
Yeah.
And then the trick I did is that every time I wrote notes, I rewrote them into my notebook. So like I write notes into a loose leaf and then I rewrite them into the notebook. And then when I'm rewriting them, I'm actually like going through the material.
Whoa.
So then I never like, that's the only let's say like note taking I do, and then other than that, it's just like doing examples and or whatever else to study. So like, yeah, that's usually what I do actually in most classes. If the prof does like post his notes and all that stuff, and he's say not as good of a prof, I probably won't even show up. That's the problem I have.
I'll teach myself. That's fine.
Yeah, pretty much. Like if they do post shit, like post everything that they do, then I either do show up, I end up doing other shit. Like I end up doing other homework, or I'll like do this.
Why even show up then?
It's like a social thing, you know. Your friends are all there. You're like, I kind of have to be here.
Oh, I don't understand social things. I like made no friends and didn't have
Yeah,
me.
but yeah, it just depends. Or sometimes the prof would be so bad that I rather just learn from the textbook myself. It just depends on the situation.
The way that you wrote down notes was how I used to write down notes.
Yeah.
And then I found that it didn't work for me.
Yeah.
Because it just did not work for me. So I found that just sitting there, literally being proactive and listening to the professor and then writing down things that are flagged in my mind as the professor's talking, I'll go back and learn more about that. But otherwise, just actively listening works so well for me.
Yeah, I think the nice part or the leisure part about current education at our age and our like time, our part of our life right now is that it's not as critical as say going to university. So for example, if I were to take a course right now, very few people will care if I pass or not. Like obviously my company, if they're paying for it, they would care if I pass or not, right?
Yeah.
But typically if you take any like postgraduate learning courses, one, they make it very easy to pass, but two, they just want you to be attentive, right? So they just want you to like sit and listen and not take notes, which is nice. But whereas in uni, it's like we're gonna regurgitate all the possible information we're gonna give, and in the exam we give you, it will be in one of the things we said, but we're not gonna say where, right? So then you're like, oh fuck, I gotta like write I have to get everything I can, right? But now it's nice because now like learning feels more leisurely. It's like, oh, I'm there to just like sit and listen.
It does, and a lot more intentional, I would say.
Yeah. Whereas back then it's like, fuck, why am I doing this stats course? This doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Right?
Fuck, I need this for a credit.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I need this because I want to get a job later, blah, blah, all this stuff. But now it's, I just want to learn. Maybe it'll give me more knowledge to bring me somewhere, but
yeah, now it's like directly connected to what you do.
Yes.
And they usually, at least the good courses make it very practical. So that's what I would prefer. I actually really like taking courses like outside, like formal training courses.
Have you heard back from Upskill?
No, I don't think they'll let me do their stuff. You have to be unemployed, or no, you don't have to be, but their goal is typically if someone's been working for at least 3 years. I'm pretty much trying to like advertise Upskill right now because I think it's the coolest shit ever. So if you've worked for at least 3 years, like a full-time job, and you don't like what you do, and you say, hey, I want to get into this thing, and Upskill has a course for it, you pretty much have to commit full-time, like 12 to 16 weeks, and they'll go through that course with you. And I think most of the courses are free or pseudo-free. So what they'll do is like you pay $500 upfront for a 12 to 16 week course, which is ridiculously cheap, by the way.
Yeah.
And in some courses, if you pass, they give you back that $500.
Amazing.
So it's essentially like free NATE level training for 12 to 16 weeks if you want to do any of the jobs that Canada has deemed that their workforce needs to upskill in order to maintain the labor force in that field. Maintain or upgrade the labor force in that field. So like some of the stuff would be like hydrogen technology, data science, programming, like all this shit. They're like, here's this 12 to 16 week direct job training course.
They have programming in there?
Yeah, but I think that's going down and down right now. I not down. I think the number of vacant spots is probably lowering now. I think they're not as critical on that stuff.
Yeah, I'd be shocked.
Yeah, now they're more critical on like, oh, you want to be a solar energy tech or someone working in the solar energy field, like here's courses for you. Or you want to sell renewable energy like for a company as like marketing or something, here's a course for you type of thing. Or like advanced manufacturing, if you want to learn about that.
What is that?
Advanced manufacturing, it's pretty much like just anything that's not typical manufacturing. Like even 3D printing is considered advanced manufacturing.
Oh, really? Interesting.
But yeah, it's just like doing very special techniques of not just like milling and lathing and stuff, right? But yeah, upskill does that, and it's like it's literally your second chance in life. That's free.
Sick.
It's second chance in life that's free, and most likely, I feel like if you are in any type of profession and you quit and you go upskill, you're probably going to do well in what you upskill in because you already have professional background.
Yes.
Whereas like if you're just a laborer, it might be tougher.
Yes.
But when you already have professional background, now you know how to integrate this new technical skill with
Into what you
the
already
corporate stuff that you've already dealt with, right?
do.
So I was like, oh, dude, this program is fucking amazing. But I don't think they'll let me do it because I'm still working full time and stuff. And I don't like, I like to learn stuff, but I still like what I do. And I still want, like, it'd be ideal if
your job.
if my company paid for me to upskill, for example, right?
Have you asked?
I mean, I applied for this NATE course, so I'll see what they say about that. It's just like whatever course you want to take. I just have to submit it to my manager, and my manager's like, okay, this sounds reasonable. Then he'll submit it to the engineering manager, and then if they approve it, then you can go and pay. You pretty much pay for the course yourself, and then they'll reimburse you for that once you finish the course.
That's pretty cool.
But that's restricted to courses. It's technically like it'd be a harder sell for an entire program, right? Like this upskill thing I'm talking about is like an entire program.
Yeah.
Right. It's 12 to 16 week full time, right? So you're essentially going back to school for like 3 to 4 months. But in that 3 to 4 months, you literally get a second chance in life to do something else you want to do. Right?
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, dude, like if I was hating my job, or if I was like, you know, just some other random job that I didn't really like, I would for sure do that right away. If not, if I just graduated and I don't really like what I'm doing.
But I thought you had to work for 3 years.
I would do the 3 years. You know what I mean? Like I would
just for the time.
Suffer the 3 years.
Do your time.
Yeah, because the other thing too is like I feel like people are a little fast to judge what they do and don't like.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just gotta do it, hate it, and then now you know what you don't want. Right.
Yes.
But if you don't fully
fail fast.
Yeah. If you don't fully commit to doing it, then you think you hate it, and then you only hate it because your attitude going into it was hating it.
Yes.
Whereas you didn't hate it because it just like it was a soul crushing job, right?
Yes.
So I don't know. I think if I could give advice, even though I'm not the one to give advice because I don't know shit in life, but I would say this upskill thing is like very unique opportunity for many Canadians. I think
it does sound really cool.
Yeah, and it's like I think it's exactly what we need. I was like, fuck, if there's more shit like that and less bullshit university stuff, because I feel like not sometimes, but I feel like a lot of the university degrees people come up with are just very useless, right? It's just very fluffy. I don't know how to explain it.
I think so too.
There's no like actual application. Whereas I find that almost everyone coming out of NATE has something that at least they can do that will pay them higher than the medium wage of most people.
Yes, I think like I haven't actually looked at the courses at NATE, but I would assume that every single thing that's taught at NATE is actually applicable in the real world.
Like the thing I love the most about NATE is that they don't have programs for things that there aren't jobs.
Yes.
So they'll only create a program for something that they know there's a demand for workers.
Yes.
Right. So they're not going to create like they won't be innovative, as in they won't create like the next crazy job that's going to be, you know, the big thing.
Yes.
But everything they do offer, you can get a job with it, and you can probably, in my guess, get a job higher than the median salary.
Yes, I would say so too.
So then I was like, it's like, I always say like, fuck, if you don't know what to do, just go there, do something for 2 years. Because honestly, some of the courses, like programs, only take 2 years, and then you can start working, and then, you know, at least if you don't know what you want to do in life, you won't go broke.
Yeah.
Right. But yeah, no, I haven't heard shit from them. But I've been looking at other stuff to like learn more. I always like really.
Like what else have you been looking into?
I think last time I told you about the Jordan Peterson Academy thing.
Yes.
That was kind of cool. But I don't know. I like the structure of a formal program, and I know you can learn things on your own. But it's really, I don't know how to explain it. It's just really hard. Like
I'd see it.
If you don't have a specific project in the thing that you're learning to do, you won't get motivated. I won't get motivated to truly learn it.
Yeah.
So for example, like if my toilet broke and I had to fix my toilet, no one else is gonna fix it. I will learn how to fix toilets so fast.
Yeah.
Right? I would YouTube that shit and I would just watch every single video and look at every single forum post and like learn the shit out of that task.
Yes.
But if you told me, hey, go learn JavaScript, I'd be like, what would I use it
You
for
have
right
to find
now?
a project that you're interested in in order to do. Yeah.
But then if you have a formal program, it's almost like, oh, they've set up the why to learn it.
They set up the issue too.
Yeah. So then you're like, okay, I'm ready to learn this, and you've set it up in a way. Most formal training set up in a way where it's conducive to learning. Right?
Mm-hmm. What would be something that you would want to learn though?
Oh fuck, dude, it's everywhere. I'd love to take a nutrition course. Because I think I know about nutrition, which makes me feel like I don't know about nutrition. Therefore, I feel like I should learn what people are actually learning. Because my thoughts on it are so narrow that I feel like I'm probably wrong. But until I'm forced to think otherwise, I will keep thinking that way.
I know what you mean.
So I think nutrition would be a good one. And this is just like for fun learning, not related to my career. But I wouldn't mind taking like, 6 to 8 hours of my personal time to like truly learn that shit in a formal program. Right.
Yeah.
And I personally think that's all it kind of takes for you to know enough that you don't know, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I feel like if you take 6 to 8 programs of any formal training program in any subject, you know enough that you know that you don't know anything. As in, like, you know that the topic is so big and you only got a taste of it. So now you know how difficult it really is.
That as someone who's a hobbyist, you actually have so much space to learn.
Yeah. And then you also respect the professionals a lot more, right? Because now you know what you don't know, right?
Yeah.
And I think genetics would be a cool one too. I think it is a certain way, and I obviously make it sound very easy, and I personally also think it's very difficult.
Yeah.
But I feel like learning some of the formalities to it would be really fun. And then outside of that, like anything related to like advanced manufacturing, I'd be cool with. Specifically, like anything related to 3D printing, I would love to do like a formal course on that. That would be sick.
Well, that would be pretty sick. Yeah.
A lot of that's like material science, but then a lot of that's like techniques, things like that. Those would be fun, like I think formal training stuff I'd love to do.
I feel like a lot of that would apply to your current role right now.
Yeah, I feel like sometimes I'm too cheap, but it's like, do I want to commit money to it, or should I like force my company to like?
I mean, if you can
let
force
me
your
do
company
it, right?
to, why not?
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to do that stuff because I feel like right now I'm always really into that stuff. I actually recently listened to another podcast from Peter Attia with like longevity and all that stuff. And I feel like every time I listen to him, he's willing and okay to change his mind, and it makes me more willing to and okay to change my mind. Right. So like I think this one podcast was with Andrew Huberman. He was pretty much talking about like NAD, NR, and NMN.
Oh, I started watching that.
Yeah. Do you want me to spoil it for you or no?
Sure. Go ahead.
And pretty much all that's just useless.
Well, why is that?
So from this podcast, he pretty much states that okay, anything related to longevity, there's this commission, agency, whatever you want to call it, association. It's called ITP, and pretty much they just test these drugs for longevity, right? And what they do is they test the same. So like if you wrote a paper saying that this drug helps with longevity, they'll talk to you and they'll get 3 other labs to do the exact same test as you did.
Okay.
To confirm like, is the shit you did real or is it like a lot of bad publishing techniques, right? And then only after that, then they'll say, okay, we think that this may or may not help, right?
Yes.
So for example, NAD, NR, NMN, out of the 3 labs they did, there's no statistical significance. There's no like thing that they can prove helps with longevity or the techniques to longevity, right?
Oh, interesting.
Or any mechanism for longevity, right? I was like, okay, that's very interesting. But what I learned the most was that they have this lab that's doing this. That's very interesting. But the other thing is that a lot of these labs, when you find a drug or something like this, what you kind of start with is like yeast or some like small single cell organism that's very easy to do.
Mm-hmm.
And then you slowly move over to something closer to human, like mice testing.
Mm-hmm.
But even at that point, I felt like if you told someone with no scientific background that, hey, I think this drug will let you live longer, we tested it on a bunch of mice, it would be like, okay, great, you've tested on a bunch of mice. Good for you. Does that work on human? And then if you're a true scientist, you will always say, I don't know.
Yeah.
Because it cannot be tested on humans. There's no way.
Until someone actually does.
Yeah. So pretty much like the overall message he was saying is like all this stuff is very cool research, but at the end of the day, the only thing he can ever recommend and say is that you just got to get your nutrition, sleep, and physical activity, like get that shit together before you even look at the subject. Right? So like if that shit's not in order, there's no point, right?
Yeah.
I forgot what analogy he came up with. But it was something along the lines of like, what color shirt was that person wearing when the Hiroshima bomb dropped? So the Hiroshima bomb dropping would be like your nutrition, your physical activity, and your sleep. The stuff that actually mattered. And what color that guy's shirt wear may or may not matter, but it won't really change anything.
Yeah.
He's wearing a shirt. I don't know what color it is. It doesn't really change the outcome. But the big thing that typically changes the outcome is, sleep, nutrition, physical activity. So I was like, oh, okay. I was like, that's, I think, a really good message. They kind of ended with that podcast. I was like, that is truly the message they should end with. It's like, you can take all these like random supplements that you want to try and test on. But one, at the end of the day, they're supplements.
Yeah.
Human trials were probably negligible, especially for longevity. There may be some results, but I feel like you should always take that with a grain of salt too.
Yeah.
Because what's their data set, right? Do they have more than 1,000 people? Probably not. Are these people that their data sets from all over the world? Probably not. And even if they were from all over the world, does it matter to you? If you were to ask me what data set matters most to me, I would say like if there's any research on North American born Asian people, those are the data sets that matters most to me because that's closest related to what I am, right? So for example, if the data set, if they tested this drug on a bunch of Africans living in Africa, maybe their genetics or variations of genetics is so far off from me and those certain genomes that study doesn't actually mean anything to me.
Yes.
Right? Even though it might be statistically significant, it may not actually mean anything to me if their data set is so restrictive, right? It's only that one group, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, okay, that kind of makes sense. I actually really like that, and they kind of ended on that note.
That's pretty cool, actually.
Yeah.
I found out recently that for studies to do with sports medicine, majority of it was tested on males and not females.
Yes.
So no one actually really knows how it would apply to females.
And at least from what Peter Attia says, in the space of longevity, they're not the same. Like things that work for male may not work for females.
Yeah.
And I was like, that makes sense because, as much as the woke crowd wants to say, any man can be a female, like there's still some biological differences that restrict the outcomes of these things, right? Just the fact that, you have different levels of hormones, different sizes of things, like shoulder, hips, legs, just physically different. Not saying one's more stronger or not.
Yeah.
Right. So I was like, oh, that's very true. Which actually sometimes makes it hard for me because sometimes I want to show Joyce a study, but she's like, was there any females in that study or is it just males? I was like, fuck, I actually don't know. Like if it could, like she's right. If it's predominantly male, then
doesn't matter.
Theoretically, yeah, like what I'm telling her may not matter because you just throw out the statistical significance now, right? It's like it doesn't matter to you because they only did it on males.
Yeah. And
even if they only did it on males, so like if they did it on athletes, say in North America, what if all those athletes were Caucasian? Does it matter to you still? Because I'm Asian. Maybe something with my genes is different, right? There's a reason why Asians can't process as much dairy as Caucasians, right? There's something in the genome that changed that, right? So it's like if you did a study on athletes in North America, they're probably all black and white, to be honest.
Yeah.
So it's like, I'm not saying that doesn't matter completely to me, but it's like, you know, you need that variety in the sample set, right? Yeah, but that's the shit I like too. I don't know. I like a lot of these like testing shit, research stuff, but I don't like doing the research itself.
I think it is really interesting, and something that I think would also be really interesting to look into would be to compare the numbers and the research between nations. So like what America would say is recommended for blah 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 versus what Asia would say would be recommended for blah blah blah.
Yeah, I think, what was it? I forget if this is a thing or not, but isn't like Asians more prone to like diabetes or something like that?
Oh really? I have no idea.
Something like that. But then I think it's also due to their diet. So it's like,
because of the rice?
I think so. But hear me out. Like I might be wrong about this, but I think if you live in a certain region of the world and you eat a specific diet, maybe your quote unquote levels of blood sugar is higher than in a different region, but then you're still okay.
Because your body has more.
Because your body is adapted to it.
And shit.
Something like that. That's how I kind of feel like. Like I feel like if you have a bunch of people that are living off the sea eating fish every day, maybe the mercury is a little bit higher. But if you had that same amount of mercury, you might be dying. But for them, it's like they've created some type of adaptation.
Yes.
Right. And then that adaptation, like what I'm saying, is like a very extreme version of it. Right. Like obviously mercury will kill you, but you know, say people in Japan, they have a certain diet that has certain higher things and specific stuff compared to North America. We can't use the same standards for the two, right? One, like most Japanese people are probably like 50 pounds lighter than the average American, right? So even that distinction is already like huge, right? So it's like, oh, this much blood pressure in North America is like really bad for you. But that's because like half of us are obese and shit like that, right?
Yeah.
Whereas that number might represent something different in a different region, right? Because like we all think of them all the same, and I don't know how they create these averages, right? Because most, like when you get your blood work, they give you a range, and if you're within the range, they're like, oh, you're safe, like you don't have to like worry about anything. But what if, because I'm Asian, that range should be tighter or it should be wider?
Yeah.
Right? Or the max and min should be different, right? Because I'm Asian or because of my diet or whatever else, right? So I don't know. Yeah, I'm interested in those things, but it's very, very like disorganized when I
for sure,
because I'm reading all these different things and I don't know what to take in.
Like even like basic studies on skincare. I know that in the States they recommend things such as retinol and retinols more than in Asia. In Asia, they hardly recommend it at all.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Versus in the States, they say, oh, it's something that you should use for anti-aging properties and everyone should use this for your skin. It's so good for you. Versus in Asia, fucking pretty much no one ever mentions retinol. And retinol is like almost not a thing.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing too is, I don't know if you've noticed this, but I find a lot of Asian foreigners living in North America has a higher percentage of them have eczema.
Foreigners? Yes.
A lot of Asian foreigners, so they were born not from North America, and when they come live here, they have a higher chance of eczema, like a higher percentage of them.
Oh, it's because of the air, right?
Yeah, and then not just that, I find that Asians in general have a higher percentage of eczema, even if you were born here, compared to Caucasians.
I don't even know if I know a single Caucasian that has eczema.
Yeah, but I know so many Asians. Like my little cousin has it. Like I just know so many people that has eczema that are Asian. It just feels like it's just a thing that, I don't know, we didn't adapt properly to here or some shit.
Yeah.
Like for sure, if you were born outside of North America, I feel like the chances are higher. When I mean chances is the percentage of people I know born outside of North America that moved here, more of them have eczema compared to the Asians that are born here compared to the Caucasians that were born here.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's a weird thing too, right? It's like, what the fuck? Like, is there a proper study on that, or is it just me that notices this trend, or has other people noticed this trend too?
I definitely have noticed the trend because I noticed that it was very common for another Asian. I would say maybe even like half or a third of the Asians that I knew had eczema at one point.
Yeah.
Or asthma as well.
Yeah, asthma too.
But for Caucasian friends, fucking no one had it ever.
Yeah.
Asthma too.
Yeah, and the asthma thing is weird too, because when you have asthma, they pump you up with steroids, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, that's interesting too, because that's I remember my one friend in elementary. He always ran the fastest. He also had asthma, and I was like, I just couldn't understand. Like, I never correlated the two, and maybe there is no correlation.
Mm-hmm.
But then as I got older, like in the university, I started realizing, because I've never had asthma, so I was like, I don't. What the fuck do you guys take for asthma? And then my friends were like, yeah, we take these steroids. We inhale it, and it helps our lungs. I was like, I wonder if that ever gets into your serum and then gets into your other parts of your body. Right?
Oh yeah, for sure.
And if that's the case, it's like, damn, like, was he genetically faster than us?
Oh, shit.
Or did the asthma help with that? Right.
Well, I'm curious if those kind of steroids can work in multiple ways like that.
Yeah. So the weird thing too, I think I recently heard this on a different podcast, is that most swimmers have asthma.
What?
So they have to take this steroid, and it's allowed. Like, the amount they take is allowed.
Are you able to Google this really quickly? I'm very curious because I have inhalers.
But it's because of the chlorine in the water is causing them the asthma. So there is a direct like correlation of what's causing them the asthma.
Yeah.
But then the solution to that is give them steroids. But then they're in this also sanctioned sport, which is like really weird, right?
But I'm genuinely curious if the inhalers that people who have asthma take, if that steroid can move and be beneficial in other areas, like giving you more muscle mass.
So first, in general, just from what I Googled, swimming induces less instances of bronchoconstriction when the airway constrict, resulting in shortness of breath, coughing, wheezing than other sports. According to the National Institute, swimming is an excellent exercise. Okay, well, I guess it's also good, but it's also bad. Asthma very common among Olympic level swimmers. Research found that a quarter of competitors in swimming events had verified asthma, although it was more common among athletes from parts of the world than others. The intensity of swimming training or long hours spent in water may expose swimmers to more chlorine byproducts compared to diverse or other athletes who spend less time breathing just at the water's surface, experts say. So I think there's something connecting the chlorine in the pool to them getting asthma, and then asthma steroids. Prednisone? How to say? Prednisone?
Prednisone.
Yeah, prednisone is medically mostly the immune system and decrease inflammation conditions such as asthma. It's also used to treat high blood calcium, blah, 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 to cancer and adrenal insufficiency, along with other steroids it is taken by. Make you stronger. I don't know. Doesn't steroids in general just help with muscle repair? Okay, so weekly doses of glucocorticoid steroids such as prednisone help speed recovery in muscle injuries. So it's like, that's performance enhancing, if you understand that.
Yes.
So if you take an exogenous drug to increase the recovery of your muscle, that's essentially what steroids does. It's just why you can train harder and more, because you're recovering faster. So yeah, like the asthma drug is literally makes you stronger also.
Interesting.
Yeah, I'm not saying I'm not like, there's obviously a reason why they take it is because of the chlorine byproducts in the water.
Yeah.
But it's also an interesting take that, you know, some of the top level swimmers also have asthma and stuff, right?
Yeah.
Which is very interesting when the enhanced game comes in. I wonder, you know, everyone's drugged up, so everyone's on the same level now, right?
Yeah. I'm curious if people who use inhalers, if that's considered a drug user.
Yeah, I mean, if I was worried about my gains, I would pretend asthma and try to get a inhaler.
That's true.
You know, take one before every set.
I've puffed too many puffs before, and it's definitely made my hands shake.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Can you search up what this drug is and see if this is a steroid?
Advair?
No. The actual drug itself. Advair is the brand. Yeah, it's the second one.
Is it manufactured? I mean, I think it's a steroid used to treat nasal symptoms. Both the anti-inflammatory, also uses topical and inflamed corticoceps.
Okay,
So we're looking at fluticasone propionate.
Yes. For Advair for you asthma people. It's a purple one.
It's an essential medicine. That's kind of cool.
It's an essential medicine.
Is it a steroid?
Oh, it is.
It is a steroid medication. I mean, that's interesting. Because how does that work? Because like, if I was a team doctor, say Team Canada doctor, I'm like, you guys all have asthma right now. Mm-hmm. You all need a minimum dose.
Hey, you've been using your inhaler this whole season. Don't say you can breathe better right now.
Now that could be just complete BS too.
Open this.
Yeah, I mean, like
the question that we just opened is Fluta blah 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 a strong steroid, and it's a potent corticosteroid.
I mean, this goes back to my thoughts of like maybe we shouldn't be handy or not handy
cortisone like steroid. Interesting.
Like maybe we shouldn't be breaking the knees of all this like biology researchers. Like if biology researchers want to study steroids and could be beneficial for human as a whole. Like at one point you didn't have to take whatever vaccine, right?
Yeah. Can you search if this just specifically does this affect your muscles?
Anyways, back to what I was thinking. So like at some point there were vaccines that we didn't take, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then we realized that hey, for the whole of society, we should take this, right?
Yes.
Like smallpox and all these other random shit. We need to take these because not taking them is way, way worse and can like destroy your life or kill you, right?
Mm-hmm.
What if they actually studied like these other performance enhancing drugs, and one day it does become like, hey, you need to take this because if you don't, your life will become like shit. Like, yeah, you know. So for example, if you were to live in a different planet with higher gravity, you probably need to take some like bone enhancing, muscle enhancing drugs because there's gonna be more weight on you all the time, right? Like
it'd be fucking crazy. Everyone has to take HGH.
Something, I don't know.
Everyone that lives on the moon is fucking ripped as shit.
Yeah, but like that's kind of cool, right? Like, what if let's not say like obesity, but let's say there's another version of obesity, and it can be prevented with the steroid, and then now everyone has to take this specific steroid, right? I mean, we won't know that until we like study all these other drugs, right?
That's true.
Like there could be some type of miracle drug there. Probably not, but could be something that really benefits society as a whole, right?
I feel like right now, a lot of celebrities and random people are taking Ozempic.
Yeah.
And they think that it's all fine and without any side effects. But I heard it can really fuck up your liver and it can make you more prone to pregnancy.
Yeah. I'm not sure about the prone to pregnancy, but I heard about like it fucking up your liver. But the what I think is that one, before it became a hype drug, it was just a drug.
It was just a diabetic drug.
It was just a diabetic drug, right? So like if I was a doctor and my patient, you know, had problems with losing weight and diabetes, I would give them Ozempic and we found out that it worked, right?
Yeah.
So I wouldn't say, hey, let's take this tool out of the doctor's tool belt. No. I should say like, hey, we should find a way if doctors choose to use these tools, how do we make us like as optimal as possible, right?
Yeah.
And how do we put even more tools? Because I'll be perfectly honest, if the doctor came to me and told me my grandpa or my dad that's older has to take steroids to like, you know, help with their muscle so it doesn't like atrophy too much and they won't like fall and break a hip or something like that, or they take some other enhancing drugs for their bones or stuff like that, I'd be like, sure, like as long as the side effects aren't bad, that sounds a very reasonable thing to do.
It's gonna grow a tit, that's all.
I mean, that's pretty bad. But you know what I mean? It's like, why not give old people something that could make their lives less miserable, right?
That's true. I would imagine when you get older, a lot of males would be recommended to take testosterone boosters.
I assume so too, because like naturally your libido drops, your muscle atrophies. Like there's just so much shit that makes your life.
I think it drops by half.
Yeah, and like that, I don't know. Like I assume I assume I have an average amount of testosterone, and I assume if it was gone, my life would be pretty shitty.
Yeah.
Right. So like, why only because of all these gym bros it has such a bad connotation and stops like research from actually turning it into like a streamlined thing for older people, which like sucks. It's like why are we doing this? Like we should still study it, and then if it's required or recommended, they should take it. Because I feel like there's still some subjectiveness to doctors. I feel like you have some doctors that are more willing to like do these things, and some doctors that aren't, that are more like traditional and stuff, and they hear like bad connotation of stuff. Like I can only assume this, and I'm not sure if it's true. It's probably wrong. It's probably wrong. But if there was a doctor that was super religious, which is tough, like to become a doctor and be super religious, would they not prescribe birth control to a girl or to a teenage woman, girl?
Does being religious coincide with being? Is it pro-life?
Well,
or forced life?
Like I'm not well versed enough, but I know some religions are like against condom and stuff like that because they think the seed is still a seed.
Right? Or specifically against abortion.
All of the above. Like they're just against anything that's against
God.
Yeah, like I think I want to say a part of the Roman Catholic or like maybe some sect of it or some groups of certain religions are like, can't waste your seed, can't, use condom. They can't use condom.
It's not a waste if you use it right.
Yeah. And then birth control and all that stuff. But then I wonder if someone's in that ethical issue of they're a doctor and they may or may not be willing to prescribe birth control to a teenage girl, right?
I feel like at some point, even if you're really religious, you have to follow some sort of standard as a doctor.
Yeah, which is why I think like if you're super religious, it may be difficult to become a doctor.
Yes,
right?
I can see that.
So that probably like the scenario I'm coming up with is probably very, very, very unlikely. But I can say factually, 100%, it's not zero.
Yes, for sure. I'm so sure.
Right.
That there are doctors like that exist. Because if you run your own client, you can do whatever the fuck you want.
Yeah,
to an extent.
So then if it's not zero, then that means there is some subjectivity. So that means not everyone's getting, say, the optimal care. Pretty much what I'm tying this to is like if your doctor for some reason is a little bit more woke or they don't like bro science, then they may or may not prescribe steroids if you're an older guy just because they don't align with that view, right? They may go a lot of different things. And the last resort might
lemon
be
peel instead.
Yeah, some like eat all this watermelon rind or some shit, right? Which sucks because I feel like damn, that's
you fucked yourself over by listening to your doc.
Yeah, it's okay. I'm gonna say out right now. I know for sure being a doctor is very difficult, but sometimes like I feel like they're not up to date with research. Which they don't need to be, theoretically.
Really? Why would you say that? I think it's because they don't want to be. Because every single year, they have to renew and do a yearly test to ensure that they're up to date.
So
their licenses
if you're a family doctor, you will probably recommend the food triangle or food rainbow or something like that.
Why would you say that?
Because if you're a doctor in Canada, that's the jurisdiction. That's what
that doesn't exist anymore.
Right. Okay. Say like 3 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, right? There was some type of food rainbow, grains at the top, then veggies. If you only go by that, then you're mistaking a lot of research on ketogenics, right?
Yes.
You're mistaking. You just don't have the knowledge of all these other nutrition related things, and you probably can't because you're a family doctor. You're dealing with like 50 other things at the same time, right?
Yeah.
But if you recommend something at that point now related to nutrition, you're technically not up to date with the knowledge, right? You follow the guideline, which is what you're supposed to do at your work. The guideline is to follow what the Canada Food Nutrition Guideline says, right? Yeah. But is that the latest research? I think that shit's outdated. I think even when it was out, when they changed it and it was still new, I thought it was still outdated.
I think so too.
Right?
I agree.
So then it's like, we know we have so much other research, like speaking to the fact that it's outdated. But what we're not, they just, they have to recommend what they can recommend. But sometimes I don't think it's up to date with research.
I agree.
So it's like, it's kind of unfortunate because especially in that's why I was so into like learning about new nutrition, because I feel like what happened was, I think in university, I think after I graduated, I went to see a nutritionist because I saw it was like part of my my plan that I can like use money in that.
At U of A?
Yeah. So I went, and it just felt like just BS, right? Like pretty much I was telling her, like, hey, I want to optimize my nutrition. I meal plan, I count my calories. Like, how can I optimize? What am I doing wrong? Here, I laid everything out for her, right? And she's like, maybe you're too strict, like if it works for you, it works. But I would recommend, going easier on this, like counting calorie stuff. But I still do it to this day. So I was like, I don't know, is she right or not? Like,
I would imagine that their advice works for your average layman that isn't that passionate in something specific, or really that into health and physical activities.
Right. But then after that experience, I got very disappointed in what I hear from nutritionists. I just feel like they're not up to date to the latest shit, it feels like, or they're not willing to strive for the best. Right.
I can see what you mean.
Right. Like if someone's struggling and truly struggling, then I get their view. They're like, okay, they're already like 50 pounds overweight. They're struggling just to lose like 5 pounds, right? They can't go straight to counting calories. It's just too hard for them, right? It just doesn't work for them, right? But if someone's saying like, hey, I've already done this for like a year, but I want to optimize it, they should be like, oh, okay, I'm on board. Like this is the shit you have to do to like really optimize, right?
Yeah.
But they just didn't do that, and I was kind of disappointed. I felt like a lot of the healthcare system is just like, let's help the average person, but if you want to do great, we're not going to help you. You have to figure it out yourself, which is kind of sad, because it's like I feel like
it's almost too tailored if you want.
Yeah. It's like if you're in the medical field, you know what's good for you or what's good for people in general. And if someone's like coming in motivated to like do the best, you should be like, okay, we're going to go and aim for the highest we can, like the highest standard we can get.
Yeah.
But I felt like that. I never felt that case, at least in all the doctors, all the nutritionists I've ever seen in Canada. I've never felt that. I've always felt like, oh, you're on average or better than average, good enough. We don't have to look at you.
Yeah.
And I just felt like, wow, I get it. You have more pressing stuff. People are dying, but it's like, I want to turn this not into sick care, right? I want to turn this into health care, right?
That's generally my experience too with every single doctor that I've seen, except for my PT for my finger.
Yeah.
Everyone's a generalist. They just want to make sure you're better than your average, and then that's it.
Yeah. And then I found that was the case too, somewhat for my massage therapist. So for a while, I thought my massage therapist was really good.
Oh, interesting.
But after a while, I just felt like he just knew generally where everyone had tight spots.
Yeah.
And he just went for those. And then he would just recommend, like, I think most massage therapists, they can like feel what's tight and what's not, and they'll just recommend certain exercises for that stuff, like that, right? But I felt like he wouldn't give me any further recommendation if I said I want to optimize something.
Right.
And that's fair. It's not specifically his job, but I feel like there are massage therapists out there that would do that, right? Which is why I'm like looking for another one, right? Because like I feel like there are the ones out there that would be like, oh, you want to optimize instead of just like making you feel status quo. Okay, here's a thing that we really got to get into, right? And like create a real strategy. And I felt the same way with my physiotherapist. Like I felt like a lot of the physiotherapists that I've met throughout the years that I've had injuries, they just want you to get to average again. They give you the worst unattainable workout program. Like, hey, do 5 sets of 20 of this every fucking day, and you have 8 exercises to do every day. I was like, oh, so you want me to spend 2 hours doing this physio stuff? Number one, I think I'd get fatigued. Like, I think that part that I'm physioing would actually get tired and would actually get more hurt, right? And number two, it's like, motherfucker, when I was a kid, I couldn't even play violin for like half an hour after school at home. Like, you expect me to do this for 2 hours for something that I feel like is marginally
every single
helpful?
day. Yeah.
So I felt like, okay, they're not doing something realistic that's sustainable, and then they're just covering their liability. They're just saying like, oh yeah, you do this, and then if anything happened, you're like, oh, we told you to do this, but you didn't do it, so that's why you got hurt again. Right?
I get what you mean. The very first time I went to a PT, it was because I sprained both my meniscus.
Yeah.
And then I felt like it was a complete fucking waste of my time.
Yes.
Because everything that they told me was everything that I could have found out from Google and YouTube. And then all the exercises that they told me to do, I was like, oh, I already know how to do this. Like, this is what like Google told me to do. Or, okay, you're telling me to do a deadlift. Okay, I know how to do deadlifts. I work out. And I told the guy, like, okay, yeah, I'm very like versed in this. I know the form. I know everything. But then he still acted like I didn't know.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, we're wasting 20 minutes because you're trying to teach me the form, but I'm telling you I know the fucking form.
Yeah.
And then I would tell him like, okay, like, can we move on to something else? Or like, okay, we need to do this. All right, I got it. I'll do this exercise. But then he would still spend time being like, oh no, let's just do body weight of that for like 20 more times. And then I went in 3 times because I was like, okay, I should at least like commit or like invest a little into my physical therapy for my knees. Every single time I went in, we spent majority of the time doing the exercises that I could have done at home.
Yes.
And I was like, I don't know whether I'm improving or not, aside from my own assessment of my pain.
Yeah.
And so I thought it was so useless. I never went back. But then the difference between that experience and the one for my finger is that for the one for my finger, every single time I went in, we did measurements to like measure my range of motion, measure my flexibility, measure the angles of my finger to see like what's improved and what's not. And then she also gave me a few exercises. She did things on the spot that I wouldn't be able to do at home, such as like massages or like heat treatments and use certain therapy devices to treat my finger. And then all the other exercises I would do at home. And then she would also change my cast or add a new splint or something to my finger or remold it so that it is more accurate to my new improved finger, or the degree that my finger has improved to every single time. So I thought it was freaking amazing. And like every single time she would tell me, all right, so we've actually improved your finger's range of motion by 2 degrees, or your fingers bent 5 degrees less, or okay, before compared to your left side, which is completely healed, you're actually this many degrees off. So this is how far you are from being fully healed. And I estimated it to take this many amount of weeks, judging by your recent progress. And I freaking loved it. Everything was so quantitative and so structured. And like the entire time, she used our time so well. Yeah. And every single week I could tell whether I progressed or I regressed and where I needed to improve on. And everything that we did in the actual physical therapy session was something that I couldn't do at home, which I loved.
Yeah, like I felt so many times when I went to physio, it's like you go there, they put some heat on it. I always just put some heat on it, straight heat. Yeah. And then they do some exercises. They might put the TENS machine on you.
Yeah.
I do like it when they do needle work, but I'm iffy still on the outcome of it completely.
Yeah.
I know what needlework does. I know it helps the muscle like regrow and shit like that. But sometimes I feel like it's not doing, like you're just doing it because you see that I don't see value in this, so you're like throwing something else in there, right?
Yeah.
Like what I would love is if I went to a physio and say like I've had this back problem for a while, like if we could just go through all my workouts, like just go through, I'll show you my form, you fix whatever you need to fix, and then you can give me some other exercises and stuff. Right?
Yeah.
But I feel like most of the physio I've gone to is just like, oh, put some heat on it. We'll do some needle work. We'll show you some like random exercise. Every week we add like 2 more exercises. It's like, brother, you want me to do all the exercises you taught me last week and the next 2 and the next 2 and the next 2?
Yeah.
Like that's literally like 10 exercises.
Yeah.
Like that's not fucking possible. Like physically in a day, I don't have that much time. Right. So then I kind of got fed up with physio for my back. So then I just went online and I found out from like the McGill Big Three, Andrew Huberman, and all that stuff. And I was just like, okay, I'm just gonna do that until I can find the right combo of like a massage therapist / physiotherapist that will actually, or maybe even like a trainer, but like the right type, like a physiotherapy / trainer / massage therapy, something like that. Then I'm gonna really commit to that instead, because I feel like right now it's just not working at all.
Yeah.
It's like I get a lot of temporary relief, but they're like after a while it just starts hurting it. So it's like what value are you bringing for me to come here? Just for you to put some heat on it, put some needles in it, and then for me to leave and you tell me everything's good? Because I know
me to come back and then there's never actually resolve for.
Yeah, like I know I feel good after I go there, but I know it's because of all the stretching they like make me do and all that stuff like that, right? But I was like, I know it's temporary too, right?
Yeah.
It's like, I think when I was listening to, again, another podcast with, Dr. McGill and Andrew Huberman, it's like when you hang from a bar, outside of like training grip strength and all that stuff, for your spine, you elongate your spine for about 25 minutes and it feels good. But that's about it. There's no long lasting effects for that, right?
Yeah.
That's more of a therapeutical feeling type of thing, not like a therapeutical fix to the problem thing, right?
Yeah.
And then the fix the problem thing is, do the McGill Big Three every day. Like for me, it takes about 10 minutes. I time it, so it takes 10 minutes for me to do these 3 exercises. I literally do it every day. But it's like when I went to the physio, he never really said that. Like he showed me some other versions of the exercises and shit like that. I was like, man, I just feel like it's a waste of time.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. I would feel that too.
Yeah. So then I just feel like they're a little outdated, and I know it's hard to update public healthcare stuff. But I don't think that's a good enough excuse anymore, considering the amount of information we get nowadays.
Yeah.
So like, if the healthcare system is rigid on how they do it due to liability, but the patients they're serving is getting all this information from online, on the web, podcast, news, and all this stuff, that's changing their perspective, you kind of have to keep up. Like you can't just keep saying, oh, that's like unproven science, or that's not like known yet, or we don't know the risk yet. Where it's like, well, I hear about this and the study's been going on for like 10 years, so I don't think it's unproven, right? So I don't know, I feel like it's slightly unfortunate here, and maybe that's one of the drawbacks of like public healthcare, right? Like if you had private healthcare and you had to actually have to pay for it, you'd be like, I'm not paying until I'm getting what I want to get from it, right? And they'll be okay, we'll give you what you want to get for it for this price, right? I think that would be the big difference between like private and public healthcare. I mean, it sucks I'm complaining about this because it's like such a fucking first world problem. Like I get free healthcare.
To an extent, because I feel like everything's a fucking business, and if somebody owns their own clinic, then I know that they get paid by the amount of clients or patients that come into their clinic every single day. If you're not a good doctor, I would imagine that you would notice that you don't have as many patients coming into your office every day, so you'd want to improve on your practice, because you want more people to book appointments with you. But I can see that if it was because it's a public health practice, most people would just take whatever they can get, and you can give whatever you want to give.
Like when there's such like long wait times and such like damned infrastructure, then I feel like this is me projecting, but I feel like they're able to give whatever care possible to whatever quality that they can provide at the time due to their circumstances, right?
Yes. Whereas
like if it was private, it'd be like, no, I expected this, and like I'm paying for this.
Yeah.
So if not, I will go somewhere else.
Yeah.
Right? Which is kind of a nice thing with like physio and all that stuff too, right? It's like you can technically go somewhere else. There's no one person that does it, right? The unfortunate thing is like I feel like everyone's gone into this very comfortable way. Like in physio, I feel like everyone's been doing it about the same way, and it fucking sucks in my opinion.
What do you mean?
Like I've been to so many physios, and I feel like maybe I'm bad luck, and maybe I have such a small sample size to reality, but they all do about the same thing. Oh, I'll do these exercises, we'll put heat on it, we'll do all this, whatever stuff that I feel like does not really do anything. Right? Like I'm okay if I go into a physio and they give me all the facts, and they just say straight up to me, Alvin, I know you're an active person. You need to rest 2 weeks, full stop. Right? Like if they gave me all the rationale, they gave me all the information, they're up to date with all their stuff like that, and they just came to me and be like, I don't even want to see you for 2 weeks. I just want you to rest for 2 weeks. Then I'd be like, this guy is actually just trying to do things to like help me and my health.
Yes, he's
not for his money anymore, right?
Yeah.
He's literally just picking the best path forward for me.
Yeah.
Right. Whereas every other physio, they're always like, yeah, we'll see you next week. You know, you need to do some more needling, you need to do some more heat and all this random shit. I'm just like, oh man, it just feels like a fucking money sink.
Yeah, I agree.
Right. Because like if I had a physio who just said like, hey, you literally just need to rest, and then I came back after 2 weeks and he's like, dude, you're good now, just, you know, keep up with these workouts, I don't want to see you again, right? Like, if you ever get hurt again, yeah, you can come see me, but for this specific injury, if you follow this or if something else happens, then you come see me, right? Then I'd be like, okay, this guy actually
has some integrity in his practice.
Yeah, he's actually doing something for me, specifically for me, because sometimes that's all it is too. Like sometimes you just need to rest, right?
Yeah.
But I feel like from all the physios I've seen, almost no one has given me the facts straight like that and literally said that to me. Literally said, hey, I don't want to see you for the next 2 weeks. I just want you to rest. Or like, I just want you to do these workouts. Because they always be like, oh, I want to see you again this week. Or I want to see you
let's
next
just check
week
in your progress next week.
Like, dude, what fucking progress can I actually get? Especially like specific injuries within 3 days. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Especially if they want to see you again the same week.
Yeah.
It's like, what fucking progress can I even fucking get?
The same week?
Sometimes they recommend it, right? Sometimes they'll be like, oh, Monday, or I want you to come back in like before like next week. Like before Monday next week, so we can like, you know, get, you know, see the progress a bit more. It's like, I don't know what you can actually see in that time frame.
Yeah.
Right. Or like even a week. Honestly, even after a week, sometimes I feel like that's still not enough time for like true healing.
Yeah, I agree. Right. I've only ever gone back in within the same week for a physio if I was replacing a cast.
Yeah.
But that's completely different. That's actually time sensitive.
Yeah. But it's like sometimes they'll be like, yeah, I want to see you again, you know, next, like I'll literally go on Friday and they'll be like, I want to see you again next week. You know, we can see the progress of this and all this stuff. I'm like, I'm glad you like to see data, but I don't think.
Have you said that?
No, I haven't said that. I just be like, okay, I'll book online and I just leave. and then I'll wait like a week and a half or something afterwards to book.
Do they ever ask you like, hey, you were supposed to book earlier?
No, they never. I think they also know it's a fucking scam.
I feel like if they don't even ask to, then it's like they know.
Yeah.
And it's not that personal of a treatment too.
Yeah. Like when I hurt my finger from climbing, the guy was great. He did all the tools things. He showed me all like the measurable outputs. But he was like,
what tools did he use with you?
Like something like a grip one, so you can see like, hey, what's your percentage of grip this week compared to last week, for example. Right. So like, what's your maximum grip strength? What is it compared to your other hand? All this other stuff, right? But he literally said, yeah, I want to see you, you know, next week so we can see the progress and shit. And I just felt like, dude, like, this is kind of a waste of time. Like,
yeah,
don't get me wrong, the exercise is good and all that stuff. But if I was in his position as a physio, and again, this is me projecting and thinking other people's job is easy, but it's not, obviously. But if I was in his position, I would have did the initial assessment. And I think from the initial assessment, he would have, and I would have also came to the conclusion that, oh, this is like a minor, it's not a tear, it's more like a sprain, ligament. Give it 2 weeks off and then you're good. Right? Like most sprained ligaments, you just give it a bit more rest. It's not like muscle, it doesn't heal as fast. And then you should be good after that. Yeah. He should have said that and be like, I don't want to see you for another 2 weeks. And then after the 2 weeks, we do the assessment. And then if he sees improvement, he'll be like, okay, you're good. Just keep doing what you're doing. You don't have to come back again unless something goes wrong. Like, I felt like if he was like the highest integrity, optimal type of physio, that's what he would say exactly. Instead, every time I went in, he's like, I want to see you next week, right? Good, he had all the tools, like the right tools. Kind of unfortunate, I felt like he was just trying to pull me in for my money too, right?
Yeah.
Right, just because it's like, you know it's something wrong with the ligament, but you know it's not severe, and you know it just takes some rest and I'll be good to go, right? But I also think part of it is liability too, right? So like if I did get hurt again, then I'll be like, oh, this guy told me it's okay.
Oh yeah.
Right? But still, like, I feel like if everyone's reasonable, you're never really gonna get into a lawsuit. Even if
no one's reasonable, so you have to do that.
Yeah, but even if you get into a lawsuit, like technically, if he told me all those exact steps, he did tell me rest, and if I didn't rest, that's on me now. Right?
You also don't really have proof that you followed exactly what he said.
Exactly. And on top of that, in most health practices, they all have insurance.
Yes.
Right. So the insurance, if anything does go wrong, the insurance will go through and all that stuff. But technically, if he went through everything I just said to me, there would be no legal ramifications for him.
Yeah.
Because he did say rest, right? If he did say rest and he did say, hey, don't do anything for 2 weeks related to that finger, and I did do something, I hurt myself, well, he did warn me, right?
Yeah.
But I feel like physio is never like that. It's always like, hey, I'll see you next week. You know, we're going to put some more heat packs on that. We're going to get some unpaid interns in here to do that for us.
Definitely some bad experience with physio more often than not, I would say.
And I feel like it's not just me. I feel like most people have that, but I also feel like they don't really speak up about it.
Yeah.
They don't care enough, especially if the insurance is going to pay for it. They're like, whatever. But I still feel like if insurance is going to pay for it, number one, like, okay, insurance company, you should expect better.
Yeah.
If you're paying for it. But two, like, it's your health, dude. Like, you should also expect better.
Yeah.
Right? You shouldn't expect shit from something. Just imagine it is technically your money. Insurance pays for it, but you pay certain taxes and fees at your company that pays that insurance company.
Yeah, it is still coming out of your wallet at the end of the day.
Yeah, so you really have to think about it like that, in my opinion. Like, you really got to think about, okay, well, if I'm paying for it, I want the best fucking quality service, right?
Yeah.
And I just feel like not everyone thinks about that. And I don't know. I don't know if enough people's complained, but I guess now I'm publicly fucking bitching about this because I just think it's dumb.
Mm-hmm.
The system they have is borderline chiropractor.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I feel like it's almost the same as that shit, where it's like, I don't know how much helps. But maybe I have a really shitty sample set. Like, maybe all the physios that I've been to were just like the shitty ones.
I'd imagine so, because I've had all my physio experiences have been bad, or just not worth returning to, aside from one.
Yeah, so I feel like I'm not alone in saying that most physios that I've experienced weren't the greatest.
Mm-hmm. I don't think so either.
Fuck, time to start our own clinic.
Time to do so.
It's kind of wild too, because the amount you pay for a session, and the amount of time they actually like. I feel like in one session they're seeing 3 people at once.
Really?
I feel like they'll go to you. They'll be like, okay, we'll put some heat packs. So the first 15 minutes on you, they're not looking at you. So they go to someone else, right?
Yeah.
Then they come to you. They do some exercises. They do some needle work, and then be okay, can you do this exercise for 20 minutes? And then they go see someone else. Right? And then they just keep rotating. Now, obviously, getting them like fully full the whole duration might be difficult. So you don't get like 100% efficiency. But when they are busy, like they're seeing 3 people. So like 3 times whatever the rate you're paying them per hour.
That was your experience?
In most physios, they're not just seeing me.
Wow.
Most physios, they're seeing multiple people at the same time.
That's terrible.
Yeah.
I would say at least all my experiences with my physio, I've been their sole client at the time of my appointment.
No, I think that's never happened to me. It's like they'll see me and they'll be like, okay, they might do like an initial assessment and they'll give me some exercise to do. And they'll be like, okay, can you do this exercise for 10, 20 minutes? And then they'll go to talk to someone else for that duration.
Well, that's kind of crazy.
And then they'll do that stuff and they'll set them up with exercise and then they'll come back to you.
That's crazy to think for me.
Yeah. I feel like there's been very rare cases where they've only focused on me. And the other times they would go through the initial assessment with me, tell me a couple exercises I need to do, get the fucking intern to come in and show me the exercises, and then they'll go see a different patient or they'll just sit in the back room. I'll just be like, oh man, you guys are kind of disrespectful and this is a lot of money you guys
That
get. Is
really bad. What the hell?
And like, it's a lot of money they get, in my opinion, for the amount of service they're providing.
Yeah.
I can only imagine, they have overhead and all this stuff, but it's not like they're fucking shipping in these like super special equipment or super special material, right? Like I have had ones where they put like hot wax on you. Oh yeah. I was like, that's not fucking expensive, brother.
I can do hot wax.
I'm pretty sure I can do a hot wax at home too.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, that's my rant, I guess, on fucking physio and shit.
That's crazy. More than one client at a time. Jesus Christ.
I think that brings up in me a little bit of resentment, but a little bit of skepticism in some of the healthcare stuff. Like it just makes you a bit jaded on what you're seeing.
Yeah.
Or more like skeptical. Like when you see it, you're like, do I really believe what that person's saying? I know they're the quote unquote professional on it.
Yeah.
But is coming back next week for a ligament injury really the right thing to do? Or, you know, like if you're telling me rest 2 weeks, but you want me to come in next week, like that sounds counterintuitive, right? It sounds like I should be resting for 2 weeks and then coming back in.
Yeah.
Right?
I get it.
Yeah. Anyways,
what was that? First of all, what was that blood test that you did that tells you, oh, this is everything that makes up your blood, and these are all the areas that you're deficient in, and these are the supplements that you should take, so you don't have to test whatever supplements for the rest of your life. These are the supplements that you are lacking and that you should take, so you don't need to take anything else.
Methylated blood tests or whatever.
Yes, exactly that.
That's the one. But I think, like in general, I've been trying to find somewhere where you can do a more comprehensive blood work. I know, like when I see the blood worksheet, there's certain stuff they check off and certain stuff they don't check off. The shitty thing,
because they only look for the things that are requested.
Usually requested, or like depending on your demographic, like, you know, male above 40, they'll probably test more like heart cholesterol type of stuff. Right, just because that
tested for cholesterol every time.
In that type of demographic, higher likelihood of like heart attacks, strokes, and stuff like that, right? But I really wish there was a more comprehensive one, and I'm kind of willing to like pay the money to do a really comprehensive one, because you don't know what you don't know. And the other problem is like you can't just do a comprehensive one once, which is the money catch. You kind of have to do it maybe 3-4 times a year, at least for that first year, just so you know what the trends are, right?
Yes.
Like if you had a really bad month and then you did the blood test, it might look like you're dying, right? And then all of a sudden you have 3 good months and you do the test, it might look like you're a god, right? But if you do 3 or 4 over the course of a year, you get like, okay, this is the average, what's changed, what didn't change between January to December.
Yeah.
And they can see like, okay, like realistically, do you need these things or not, right? In the States, it's more prevalent because their healthcare is private. Therefore, there's more people innovating and willing to do these tests for lower costs. Right. So if you go with the insurance company and stuff, they'll only test a certain amount because they don't want to pay as much, right? But if you pay out of pocket to like a private place, then they're willing to do everything for you.
That's true.
I wish there was more options for that in Canada. I think there are, but most of the options I've seen, at least when I first researched it, was you come to a clinic here, they take your blood, but then the company's based in the States. So it's like all the pricing is in the States. Most of the analysis is there anyways. It just doesn't, it seems a little sketch.
Yeah, and it takes a while.
Yeah. But
interesting.
Yeah, I kind of wish I had that. Like I'm kind of spoiled. Like I make enough money that I'm not struggling, so I want to like optimize my health, right?
Yeah. First world problems.
But I feel like I don't know. I'm not ashamed of that. Like I feel like that's better than most people anyways. And
why would you be ashamed of it?
No, like I get it. I have these, you know, first world problems where like I'm already blessed with all these things, but fuck it. I love optimizing that shit, so I really want to like spend money on that instead.
I get when people talk about first world problems and they're like, oh, I should be complaining about this.
Yeah.
But another mindset that I think is valuable to have is that even though these are first world problems, these are your problems.
True.
This is your life. You do live in a first world, so it's kind of moot to compare it to a third world problem when that is not your reality.
True. Yeah. Like it's something reasonable for me to think about. And I mean, flip side too, if someone in the third world was in your same position, if they would do the same thing, then it's a pretty general thing, right? And yeah, I mean, there's worse money you can spend your money. There's worse things you can spend your money on.
Yes.
And I think this is definitely.
I think most of the time when people talk about first world problems, it talks about them not being grateful, and it doesn't. To me, it doesn't come hand in hand. It doesn't have to come hand in hand.
Yeah, it depends on the situation too. It's like my fucking boat motor doesn't work anymore. I was like, yeah, you know, it's your second
First
boat.
world problems.
Yeah.
I shouldn't fix my boat.
Yeah. All right. Anything else you want to add? I have some other topics, but I think we're the time frame.
That's everything for me.
All right, cool. We'll see you guys next week. We're gonna try to get more regular. I know we've had a lot of vacation, but I think we don't have anything coming up. I don't have anything coming up to October. I think Viv, you should be okay for a while. Yeah. All right, cool.
Bye-bye.
Bye.